Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you are having an outstanding day. So in today's video, we are diving into another exciting topic, Terraform. We will explore how to deploy a simple index.html file on Google Cloud using Terraform. And then we'll understand what is Terraform and why it is useful. Then we'll quickly set up this Terraform to deploy the index.html on Google Cloud. By the end of this video, you will have a solid understanding of how Terraform automates infrastructure deployment and how you can host your static website on Google Cloud. So let's learn together and deploy our app step by step. If you are excited about mastering Terraform and cloud infrastructure, then make sure to like, share and subscribe to stay updated for more content. So let's get started. So now let's understand what is Terraform. I'll explain this in very basic definition. So Terraform is an open source infrastructure as a code. We call it as IAC tool. I will explain you this in very simple example. So let's consider a simple example. Suppose you need to create a virtual machine in Azure. Normally, you would go to the Azure portal, create a resource group, set up virtual machine configuration settings, and fill all the required details. While this works, it becomes time consuming when requirement scales. For example, in your case, if you suddenly need to create 10 virtual machines, deploy a static website, set up a web application. So doing this manually for every change would be insufficient. Instead of Terraform, this simplifies this process by allowing you to write a configuration file specifying the required resources, for example, virtual machines or storage or networking. Use minimal command to deploy everything at once. Modify the configuration file when changes needed, for example, scaling up, scaling down, and apply updates automatically. So now next question comes up, that is what is state? Inside the state, Terraform keeps the track of state of your infrastructure. This means it knows which resources exist, their configuration, and what need to update or remove when changes are made inside the configuration file. So now let's quickly understand what are the benefits of using this infrastructure as a code or IAC. So first important benefit, that is the automation. It reduces the manual effort in provision or creating the resources. Consistency, ensure the same infrastructure is created across different environment. Scalability, easy to scale up or scale down, modifying the configuration file, and version controlling. So because of this IAC infrastructure as a code is widely used. It reduces the unnecessary time consuming while creating or setting up the resources in cloud platform on the manually. So far we understood what is Terraform and how infrastructure as a code IAC works. Now let's dive in deeper into how Terraform operates internally. So basically, Terraform creates and manage resources on cloud platform and other services using their application programming interface. This means Terraform interacts with different cloud provider and services through which acts as a bridge between Terraform and the platform APIs. So now there are three important stages which coming under the Terraform workflow. The first is write, second is plan, and third one is apply. So let's go through each stage one by one. So on the first stage, write, which is a defining your infrastructure stage. In this stage, you can write your configuration file to define the required resources on cloud. Terraform allows you to define multiple resources across different cloud provider in a single configuration file. For example, you can create a configuration file to deploy virtual machines inside VPC, virtual private network, a load balancer, or security groups to manage the access. Now second stage which is coming in, that is plan. We are creating the execution plan. So in this stage, Terraform analyze the configuration file and compare it the existing infrastructure. It generates the execution plan which details, for example, what new resources will be created, what existing resources will be updated, what resources need to be destroyed, and many more. These steps helps to review the changes before applying them to avoid unexpected modifications. And the last stage, that is nothing but the apply stage, which is a provision of the infrastructure. So upon once you approve, the Terraform executes the plan to provide the infrastructure. The Terraform ensures the dependency between resources are handled correctly or not. Example, if you update the VPC and also change the number of virtual machines inside it, the Terraform will first recreate the virtual private network before scaling up and scaling down, and accordingly the virtual machines up and down. So in this way, this Terraform will work behind the scenes. So there are three stages. First stage is nothing but the write, where you can write the configuration file and create the resources. Then second phase, that is plan, where you can plan your execution, what are things are going to set up in the infrastructure and not. And finally, that is apply, where the infrastructure will execute the plan which is approved, and accordingly it will create the infrastructure behind the scenes. So this structured approach makes Terraform a powerful tool for managing cloud infrastructure efficiently while ensuring consistency and scalability. And the Terraform offers several advantages for managing infrastructure efficiently, and there are some key points for while using, or the benefits of while using this Terraform. The first one is IAC multi-cloud support, automate and consistent deployment, change management and version controlling, dependency management, scalability, and reusability. Those are the key advantages while using this Terraform. So before we dive into the actual implementation and the demonstration, let's first understand the architecture of what we are going to build. So in this demonstration, we will create a simple index.html file. This will serve as a static website content. Then we'll set up a cloud storage bucket in Google Cloud. This bucket will act as hosting environment for our static website. And then we'll deploy this index.html file to the cloud storage bucket. This will store and serve our website content. And finally, we'll enable the public access to become this website available publicly or publicly accessible over the internet. By the end of this demo, our static website will be live and accessible publicly via URL. So now that we understood the architecture, so it's time for the actual implementation. So let's get started with our implementation. So before we start with an actual Terraform code, we need an Google account. So if you don't have created a Google account yet, so you can sign up with a free trial which give you a 90 days credit. So once you create an account, then go to the Google Cloud Console, and then so in the Google Cloud Console, then navigate to the project section and click on the new project button. So then it will open a new window where we need to fill the project name. So I will give the project name as TA underscore Terraform 01. Oops, I think I have added the underscore, so I'll update this one. So I'll remove this underscore TA Terraform 01, and then let's click on the create. So it will create a project, and let's click on the project list. So the new created project will be listed over here. So now let's point to this newly created project. So now we are in TA Terraform 01 under this project. So before we proceed with a Terraform, we need to enable certain APIs that allows Terraform to interact with Google Cloud. Then let's navigate to the API and services and enable some APIs. So let's click on let's search API, and in that let's search for this IAM identity and access management API. So let's click on the enable button. So once we enable the required APIs, then uh, we need a service account. So basically Terraform requires a authentication to manage Google Cloud resources, which done via service account. So let's again search for the service account in the Google Cloud console, and it will open a new window where we can we can see, or we can create a service account. So currently, so previously we have not created any service account, so the service account will be not listed in this section, but once we created any service account, which will be listed over here. So now let's click on this create service account button, and then let's give the name. So I'll enter the name, that is TA underscore Terraform underscore learning. And then let's enter the description. So I'll enter the description, that is to learn Terraform, and then let's click and continue, create and continue button. Then we have to grant some access to, since this is a demo, so we will assign a owner access to the service account. And so let's, in that I will use the role as a basic, and in that give the owner, and then let's click on the continue and finally click on the done. So now it will create our service account. So let's click on this newly created service account and navigate to the keys tab, and let's click on the add key, and in that let's create a key, then select a type as a JSON, and let's click on the create button. So it will create a JSON file that will be downloaded, and we can store it in your local system. Then we need this key while creating the configuration file. So now we have set up a Google Cloud and enabled some required APIs and created a service account. So we are ready to start writing a Terraform code to deploy a static website. So let's move on the implementation. So now let's open a VS Code, and in that let's open a terminal and let's start. So I have already installed this Terraform in my system. So if you see the Terraform hyphen version, so it will show you the Terraform version that I have installed. So if you have not installed this Terraform, then there is official documentation, so you can go to this Terraform official documentation, and here is the installation process. There, those are mentioned for Mac OS, Windows, Linux, and you can follow for the Windows, and you can follow all this installation steps and download the Terraform in your local system. So now let's clear the terminal. So now let's create a folder where we need to set up this infra. So I'll create a new folder and I'll give the name of the folder, that is infra. Let's click on the enter. So I will start with the fundamental files that we need. So I'll create this main.tf. So in this main.tf, most of our code will be Terraform code will be uh, created in this main.tf file. So before that, we proceed with so we need to pull provider. So in that, in our case, we are using this, we are deploying this on Google Cloud. So for that, we will create a separate provider.tf file, and in that provider.tf file will mention, or we will pull this our Google provider. So let's create new file, and we'll give the name of that file, that is provider.tf, and inside this provider.tf we'll pull our provider. So let's add one comment. So I'll using GCP provider, and then we'll use the provider and we are using this for Google, so I'll use the Google, and then in that we'll first map the credentials. So in that credentials, basically we have already downloaded this key on our local system, so we'll import this. But for now we'll use, rather than importing the file directly, we'll use the variables and then we'll map those accordingly. So I'll use var.gcp underscore svc key. So I'll show you how we can map those variables on the later part. So for now, we'll map this for var.gcp underscore svc underscore key. Then let's create a project. Then I'll again use, I will again map this with the variables. So I'll use for this project, I'll use var.gcp underscore project. And finally, we'll set the region. So in that also we'll use the variable. So var.gcp underscore region. And I'll show you how we can map those in the variable file on the later part. So for now, we just added those. So now let's quickly go to our main.tf file, and inside this main.tf file, let's start for creating the bucket. So let's start with the comment. So we'll add the comment that is bucket creation, and then let's create a resource by typing the resource, and then let's give the name of the resource while creating the bucket. So I'll give Google underscore storage underscore bucket, and then we'll give the name of that bucket. So we'll give this name that is app demo, and in that now let's enter the name. So in that we'll give ta app demo. Then let's enter location where we need this. So I'll use this as in US. So now we have created our first resource in this main.tf file or inside this Terraform. So now we have to deploy our index. As we know, we will deploying this index.html file inside this bucket. So I have already created one index.html file. So we need to deploy this in bucket. So we have to write one code for this. So for that, let's create one more folder, and I'll give the name of that folder, that is site, and inside this site I will upload this index.html file. So I have uploaded this index.html file, and you can see in that I have just added this h1 tag. In that I have printed this welcome to TechnoAarambh. So now let's upload this index.html file from our local storage to bucket. So how we can do that? So we'll do this by creating resource by object. So let's create this resource. In that, enter Google storage bucket object, and then we'll give it a name to that file, that is we'll give site underscore src, and then inside this object let's enter the name. I'll give the name, that is index.html, and the source. So I'll give the path for this index.html, which is inside this site folder. give the name that is index.html. And the and then we give the bucket name, so we'll use google storage google underscore storage underscore bucket underscore app demo dot name, because we have already given the name to that bucket. Then let's So since we are deploying our website, which is on the internet, so publicly that static website will be available. So we have to define the access control rule. So defining this, so let's create one more resource for the access control. So let's create resource, and then we'll give the name that is Google underscore storage underscore object access control, and the name of this, that is, give this as a public underscore rule. So you might have might have get confusion between those. There is the naming convention that I am using. So this naming convention is already available on the official documentation. So this Google Storage bucket, Google Storage bucket object, and the access control. So I'm using the same naming conventions uh, in this while creating this configuration file. When you can follow the official documentation, then you will get this naming convention that I'm using. So that is the Google Storage Object Access Control. So now inside this app access control, let's define the object, and in that give the object name that is Google Storage bucket object dot site underscore src, which will point the index.js and dot name. So it is automatically populating the name, or mapped with the name. And then let's define the bucket that we are going to give the access. So that is Google Storage bucket dot app demo, which is our bucket name, and then give the name of the ta-app demo. And then let's define the role for the bucket, so that is reader. And then let's define an entity, so who can access those. So we'll enter all users. So now so far we have created the three resources. One is we have created the bucket, then we have created this to upload the index.html file, where we created the object, and then we have given the access control to access this bucket and this index.js file, sorry, index.html file. And at the beginning of this video, we have downloaded one service account key in our local machine. So I asked you, we need this service account key to authenticate our Terraform to access this Google Cloud. So we have downloaded this key on our local machine. So we'll pull this in this root directory. So now I have copied this JSON key and in the root directory. So now we will use this key to authenticate Terraform to access our GCP cloud console, or GCP provider. So, so before that, there are a couple of ways to set this variable. So I'll create one more file. So to map these keys and variables to the provider. So in that I'll use this. So we'll create this Terraform tf so in that we'll define our variables. So gcp svc key gcp underscore svc underscore key, and we'll copy the file of the name or the key name, and we'll import in this gcp svc key. And then we'll use gcp underscore project and then we'll quickly copy the ID of our project name. Let's go to this. So let's go to the Google portal and then click on the projects, and then let's copy the project ID and paste it over here. And then finally set the region, that is GCP underscore region, and then we'll use it's in U US East. And then let's save this file, and that will be automatically mapped with our provider.tf file. Now we're done with our setup, so now we'll quickly deploy our bucket on the Terraform and see how it works. So now let's open the terminal, or I'll expand this terminal a bit more, and let's go to this infra folder, because our Terraform code which is present on the infra. So let's do cd infra. Now we are pointing to the inside this infra. Then we'll do Terraform init. Let's click on the enter. So it is initializing or downloading some required file for the Terraform configuration. So it is, if you see, it's installing the HashiCorp required documentation, and the Terraform has successfully initialized and installed the required packages. So if you see, there are a couple of new files are already created. So .terraform, and inside there are a couple of files that are getting added. So now let's clear the terminal and let's do Terraform plan. So now it will create a plan to deploy, and inside this there are 3 plans. Those need to be added in the deployment. So if you see the bucket, there is ta app demo, then the object for to upload this index.html file, and then the role. And so now let's move ahead and let's do Terraform apply, and let's click on enter. So again it will download some required files, and you can see then do you want to perform this? So let's enter the name, that is yes, and let's click on enter. And now our bucket is deploying, creating the bucket, and then if you see, the apply is completed and successfully created the resources, 3 resources that we need to deploy, that is the bucket, index.html, and the objects. So now we're done with our deployment process. So now if we go to this Google portal and go to this storage, and inside the bucket you will see our bucket is getting created. So ta app demo bucket is getting created, you can see that, and all the required things that is created, location, and the last modified public access control are getting mapped to our newly created bucket. So now if we click on this bucket, it will open a new window where you can see our index.html file is getting uploaded inside the bucket. And in that you can see the public access and the copy URL is already mapped. So if we click on this index.html file, then it will open a new window where you can see the details or the overview, the type of the file, size, and when we've created the file, then last modified, and the public URL. So once we click on this our public URL, it will open our website. So in that you can see welcome to TechnoAarambh. It's available on the internet, so it is available to access publicly. So in that we have mapped this YouTube logo. It will navigate to my YouTube channel. So that's all about the Terraform configuration. So in this video, we successfully deployed a static website on Google Cloud Storage using Terraform. So a quick recap what we covered in this video so far. So in the introductory part, a simple definition and its role in infrastructure as a cloud. Then we understood what is IAC, what it means, how it helps to automate infrastructure management. Then we understood how Terraform works. In that we understood a deep dive into an internal process including the main three key stages, which is write, plan and apply. Then we move into the architectural diagram where we take the overview what we are going to deploy in this video. Then we start with the actual implementation where we created an index.html file and we'll set up a Terraform configuration files in main.tf and others. Then we finally ran Terraform commands to create a cloud storage bucket and deploy our website successfully. And we made up our websites publicly accessible on the internet. So if you found this video very helpful, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to support the channel. If you got any questions, then drop them in the comment section. I'll happy to help you. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.